Hey Stringees, welcome to my first ever Q&A video. So let's get straight to the questions. Cameron Conley asks, why did you start making YouTube videos? Well, it started off as a simple bet between me and my two other siblings. This was back in, I think, 2007 or 2006. And that was when YouTube was still on its early beginnings. And I said to my siblings, one day I will have a YouTube video that will reach 1,000,000 views. Just you wait. And fast forward to today, I now have 3 videos that surpassed 1,000,000 views. Thanks to you guys. Jeremy Milan asks, when you do your covers, do you Google for the notes for it or do you learn it by ear? For all the covers I do in my YouTube channel, I always learn it by ear. Why? Because for me, it's just much faster. If I already know the notes in my head, then I don't really need to Google for the sheets. The only time I would look for sheets is when the original arrangements is too multi-layered and I have to figure out the middle and the lower notes without making a mistake. Or if there's some difficult lyrics to the music, then I also sometimes look for the sheets. I think in my entire lifetime history of doing YouTube covers, I've done this maybe around 5 times or so. Ryan Piercy asks, when you get an idea of a cover you want to do, how quick are you to pick up the music by ear to the point where you are able to play it yourself? I imagine there's quite a bit of trial and error. The answer is, it depends on how difficult the piece is. In my experience, the slower the piece originally, the easier it is to figure out for me. But when there are many fast notes in the melodic passage, I sometimes have to take a second or third listen just to figure out the notes. But as to how long, for the average 2 to 3 minute cover song, it would usually take me an hour or so. Okay, Levi Bechtold asks, has YouTube become full-time for you since someone asked last year? I guess the answer would be still getting there, but I don't think it will ever be my 100% full-time job because as the saying goes, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Something could happen that will make YouTube less of a viable job option in the future, or maybe YouTube will just shut down out of the blue. Anything can happen because YouTube is totally not under my control. Anything could happen to YouTube. Google could sell it, Google could just get rid of it. Whatever the reason that may come, I don't think it's wise to depend solely on YouTube for your income if you're a YouTuber. The good thing with that, as I have said before, because I am a film scorer and a TV scorer in my country, I do music for films, I do music for TV shows and TV commercials and what have yous. I am able now to choose the good types of TV and film projects that I would like to do. Whereas before, I had no choice but to accept everything, whether it's good or bad, or if I find it interesting or not. But because YouTube is here to complement that, I am now able to cherry-pick the film and TV projects that I'm interested in. Okay, here's an interesting one. Koneko Eldin asks, when you do your covers, do you play the game as well, or do you just listen to the soundtrack? 90% of the time, I would also play the game. Most of the covers in my channel are already from games that I've already played recently or in the past. The music has connected to me emotionally and personally, and that's one of the main reasons why I would want to cover such music. But there are also moments when I just randomly heard a beautiful piece of music from a game I haven't played, and I really love that music that I decide, okay, I'll make a cover of this. One good example would be my cover from the Dreamcast game Shenmue and some of the themes from my Metal Gear Solid medley because I've only really played the first one and Metal Gear Solid 5. Okay, Jukebox asks, do you recommend becoming a remixer, cover maker, or etc. in YouTube if that person has some talent in music? I would say, why not? If it's something that interests you, if making covers or making remixes is something that you find that will improve yourself as a musician, then go ahead and do it. And if you decide to put those remixes in YouTube, you could find yourself earning some money in the end. It never hurts to try. Akash asks, I'm a saxophone player and I've always wanted to do covers but I don't have the artistic ability to just pick up video game music easily. So should I start doing covers? Going off the first question, do you compose the covers yourself or do you find ones online and play them for the videos? Okay, your first question first. The best option would be to look for music sheets. And I know it's not always readily available. What you could do is find MIDI versions of the music, and the MIDI can be converted to music sheets using the right music software. Maybe I'll put some links in the description for that. And the second question, do you compose the covers for yourself or find ones online? Yes, I arrange. Okay, it's not really technically composing, because composing means you're making an original music out of scratch. What you're asking technically is if I arrange the covers myself. Yes, I arrange the covers myself from scratch, and I study it myself, I arrange it myself, I orchestrate it myself, and everything done by me. I just really figure the music out for myself because that's how I roll. Ryan Piercy again asks, do you have a favorite classical composer or piece? My all-time favorite classical composer is Bach, although he is technically from the Baroque era, but I also like Beethoven, Mozart, Handel, Tchaikovsky, and Stravinsky. Kexbaum asks, if you can be inside a video game, which video game would you jump into? Maybe for this I will say my top 3 video game worlds that I want to be in. Number 3 would be the Elder Scrolls world, because it's just fantastic. And number 2 is Mass Effect, because space, man, space travel, robots, aliens, and space battles, what have you. And last would be, of course, World of Warcraft, Azeroth. Because Azeroth, it's World of Warcraft, and because in World of Warcraft, you can be anyone you want to be. You can be a warrior, you can be a warlock, you can fight for Azeroth, or you can just sell flowers as an NPC. Dayer Dragmire asks, how are you doing in World of Warcraft? In a good raiding guild? How are you enjoying it? I'm enjoying it so much, and this is coming from someone who has never played from vanilla WoW. I only started really taking WoW seriously during the recent Legion patch, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm in a good raiding guild, I'm in the Horde faction in Area 52 realm, and I'm playing a Blood Elf Beastmaster Hunter. So I'm showing you right now some of the footage we did in my raid guild recently, and we've already cleared Emerald Nightmare Heroic, and we're currently progressing in Trials of Valor. Davikang asks, who is your Overwatch waifu? This is difficult. Very difficult. I would say because she's my most played character, it's Pharah by default. But then there's Mei, and then there's also Mercy, and Tracer. I told you it's very difficult. Next question, please. Mr. Sensational asks, out of all your Undertale covers, which one did you have fun doing? All of it. Because Undertale is a special thing to me, because me and my daughter, it's one of our first video game bonding moments, and we are both passionate with the game, and especially the music. And if you've seen the album covers of my Undertale albums, those illustrations were done by her. Kevin Yan asks, do you have any strange, non-musical talents? Sai BST Falsar asks, who taught you in playing the violin, and how long did it take you to become a god at it? Okay, first of all, I'm not a god at the violin. This is a god at the violin. And I'm nowhere even near 100 miles from him. But to get to the question, my first violin teacher was a private tutor when I was still in grade school, and I stopped for a while in high school to focus on my other passion at that time, which was the visual arts. But my calling for music was just too strong, so after taking 1 year of architecture in college, I shifted finally to music composition, and the rest is history. While music composition is my major, we were also required to take a minor instrument to focus in. So I chose the violin because I already knew how to play the violin. So I had my college teacher, and after that, I tried out for some ensemble play playing off college, and I also have another mentor for ensemble playing. So that's 3 types of violin tutors I've had in my entire life as a violinist. Darunsky asks, could you maybe give a few tips to someone who can't afford a music teacher but wants to learn the violin? YouTube. YouTube lessons. There are so many YouTube music tutorials out there that I don't even know where to recommend because there's just so many. Just search for violin lessons in YouTube and most of the time, you'll get great results. But in my experience, using YouTube is only great for beginners. When you really want to advance and really get good with violin playing, it's always advisable that you find yourself a good teacher because he or she can see right away what you need to focus on. A YouTube tutorial video can't really give you direct feedback, so getting a teacher is still always the best option for advanced learning. Oscar Alvarado asks, how many music teachers did you have? And in what specific way did they inspire you? Also, I'm currently experiencing a lack of passion and motivation for practicing, playing, and writing music. Have you gone through this? And if so, how did you get out of it? Okay, teachers, too many to count because I majored music composition in college, and of course in any college there's so many teachers. I would just say that I got everything that I needed to learn from them, and I'm applying most of those teachings in my life as a musician. As for lack of musical motivation, what I do is just do something else. I just do something else that's not related to music. Sometimes I would binge play a video game for a week. Sometimes I would just get out of the house and go somewhere, walk around the mall, walk around and do some window shopping or whatever, or have a dinner date with my family. Something else that gets you out of your studio, something else that gets you out of your musical place. And the reason why I would intentionally distance myself from music or music making is so that I would miss it. Because if you miss something, you would be more eager to get back to it. And if you keep on doing music 24/7 for a whole week, 2 weeks straight, it can sometimes get draining and it will knock out some of the passion. So just get out for a while, do something else, and then you will eventually miss it. You will be motivated to write music again, to play music again. And that's it. That's my cycle. Rinse and repeat. Okay, Emperor Zerbo asks, did you use the Suzuki Method to learn violin? Also, if you had a teacher, at what point did you feel confident enough to begin to self-teach? Okay, yes, when I was in grade school, I had a private violin teacher and we used the Suzuki Method from books 1 to 6. And it's very helpful because it's a very methodical way of learning the violin, assuming you have a teacher. And the pieces in the Suzuki Method really has a good progression from very easy, and it rises up in difficulty level as you advance in the books. The point in my life where I felt confident enough to not need a teacher anymore was after graduating from my college degree, which is music composition. Because by then I already do the basics of violin playing. I already do the advanced basics as well. I'm confident enough now to figure out pieces by myself, and the only reason I would take on another teacher is if I want to become a classical concert violinist, like performing in Carnegie Hall or touring around the world as a classical solo violinist. But that's not what I want to do. I want to make video game covers and I want to perform my own original music. And I can do all that by myself now, so I don't need a teacher anymore. The Melody Locker asks, musically, what would you say was the biggest risk you have ever taken? As of this video, I wouldn't say it in the past tense because I think it is something that is still progressing at the moment. The risk I'm taking right now is gravitating more towards video production for YouTube while slowly moving away from my current job as a film and TV scorer in my country. But it doesn't mean that I'm abandoning it completely. It's just that right now, creating content for YouTube is becoming more and more appealing to me. David GX asks, as someone who's never had any experience with music or playing instruments, what would be the best way for me to learn to play the violin? You've inspired me. Thank you, David. Okay, my first suggestion is, of course, check out some YouTube tutorials and then Maybe you know someone who has a violin and you could borrow it for a while, or maybe you could loan a violin. I don't know if that's possible where you live. Either get a violin for yourself temporarily or permanently. Try it out for yourself and find out if that's what you really want. Because sometimes you could be interested, so interested to learn a musical instrument until you try it and you found out that it's not the one for you. And maybe you're better off playing a trumpet or a piano. So my suggestion is, try it out first, watch some basic YouTube tutorial videos, and if you liked it, that's the time to think whether you should buy a violin for yourself and look for a good teacher. Raul Neo Zero asks, hardest challenge in this year? I would say the hardest challenge for me this year is shifting towards a more violin solo approach in my covers, as opposed to previously when I was still focused on making more ensemble type of covers like orchestral arrangements, rock orchestra, orchestral forms, and large ensemble forms basically. Because the thing is with ensemble performance or orchestral violins, when you play together, you sound really good, even if individually you're not the best violin solo player, but together you sound really good. Just like a choir. When a choir sings together, it doesn't necessarily mean that each and every one of the singers are also good solo singers. But when they sing together, they sound really good. And the challenge for me now, ever since I got my electric violin, my 5-string electric violin, I got inspired to create more soloistic covers. And the challenge for that is, of course, I have to level up my solo playing. Because when you play solo, every mistake you make is really noticeable because you're just alone. And you don't have the fallback of maybe 4 or 5 other string players playing together with you. So if you screw up, it's all on you. So I really had to improve a lot on my solo playing because of that. Okay, Kristen asks, what was one of the most difficult but ultimately rewarding songs you covered? I suppose I mean the song that was hardest to figure out how you wanted it to sound, but once it was completed, you were very proud of the end result. For my recent covers, I guess it would be my cover of Megalovania from Undertale, because the impression with the sound of the violin is it's not always in your face a punchy sound, as opposed to a metal lead guitar who already sounds punchy by default. So I had to really figure out what type of mix, what type of sound I would make for the violin to make it sound a bit more punchier. And it's all a matter of mixing some distortions, some effects, and I'm very happy with the result. And with you guys giving it 1 million views, I guess you're happy too. But for my past covers, I would still say it would be the Legend of Zelda Ultimate Medley, because man, that was really a lot of effort, a lot of research, and a lot of surveys, and a lot of everything just to put that out. And I think that might be a one-time fluke that I might not be able to repeat anytime soon, because lightning in a bottle moments like that, you can't really recapture it all at once and you can't force it to happen again. So I'm just biding my time and maybe think of another idea that will probably match or surpass that in the future. Another cover I would say would be the Dancing Mad a cappella from Final Fantasy VI, because that's just 18 minutes of a cappella singing. Okay, here's a question from Moobs, the VG musician. Take a brief retrospect on this past year. What are you proud of? What do you want to do better? And what are your plans going forward? Whoa, this is a very loaded question, man. I am proud that I am now able to share my love for video games and video game music to a very passionate community, you guys. And my future plans is just basically just keep doing this. I will not stop doing video game music in my YouTube channel as long as I live, and that for me is already a very viable plan. I'll just keep on doing music covers in my channel. That's it. So thank you guys for sending in your cool questions. I know some of the other questions didn't make it, but there will be more Q&A events like this in the future if you want. So let me know in the comments if you want more Q&A videos like this in the future, and maybe we'll have more of them. Also, a lot of you guys sent very basic questions like, what's my name? Where do I come from? What's my day job? And I've already answered all those basic questions in my 20 questions with SPG. The link is below, so do check it out. It's a photo album in my Facebook page with all the basic questions answered already. So thank you once again, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Stay awesome, Stringees.